Is Mr. Corey on?
No, but
No.
Mr. Lefreniere.
What?
Mr. Lefreniere.
Mr. Lafreniere, there he is.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Jason.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda, adding item 8, just a yonder update. And then making topics for future meeting 9, comments for the good of the order 10, and adjournment 11.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
No, we have, no,
Oh, no, there is a change.
Yeah, after we got a motion and a second,
Okay.
and then we'll discuss.
second.
Second. Okay, discussion. John is replacing, Gary is
There's
replacing
replacing John
John.
in number 4.
in number 4. Yep.
3 and 4.
Yep, all set. Any other changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Jason has a question.
Jason?
sorry.
Oh,
Sorry, just saw, I was not at that meeting. I don't believe on December.
yes, you were.
I think you came
Yeah,
later,
You
Jason.
did. You
Oh,
came.
that's right, I did. You're right.
It was a
They're
very
all,
day.
yep. Got it, thank you.
Thank you. Public participation. Is there anyone on the public line now?
Nope. Give it a yonder.
Okay. Entertain a motion to go into executive session regarding early retirement incentive proposal for TPS bargaining unit. Inviting in Superintendent Lebowski.
And
and
then,
Lynn
Do you-
Colbert.
if you want to, I don't know if you need any history, then we need Kim as well. So it's up to
And
you.
Kim.
Okay.
She's Zoom though. How can she come into an executive?
Oh, yeah, I'm
session?
sorry. She cannot.
No.
Come on in, Kim.
No, she can't.
No, I'm just kidding.
She's on Zoom.
That's
I wouldn't have seen that.
That's
Okay,
okay,
so
so I
we're
can be in
going
there.
next door?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fiona, what about board members that are not part of the committee? No?
Yes, they can, board members.
Do you want us to go?
We can go in there. It's easier.
I just thought that was easier.
No, this isn't it?
There's so many people.
You
Yeah.
can't, well,
Why don't you
I
guys
think
take
it's,
care and
you
we'll
don't,
leave?
Yeah.
being on the phone, you don't know
Okay.
who's in the room is more of the point of being an executive session.
Right, so we're gonna go in.
Oh, and not having her in.
Right.
She's assuming. I get it.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
she was
fine.
in virtual.
Can
Okay.
you, isn't it possible to put those of us not going into executive session back into the waiting room?
No, we're just gonna move into the
Okay.
other room. Shouldn't be too long.
Thanks for meeting the custodian.
Oh, no worries. That's what I wrote out.
All right, monthly financials.
Okay, the amounts have changed significantly since we paid the retro and the increases to all the 1159 union members. But we have, I adjusted the other purchase services down so that it's kind of like a wash. And we're still in a very good position. I'm anticipating that we'll be somewhere around the 400,000 amount unless there's some unforeseen very crazy issue that happens. Does anyone have any
So we're right on
questions? We're
target.
right
really.
on par. We seem to be going very well on par this year.
I
I
know.
also,
Just one quick,
I'm sorry.
with an estimated end of year budget balance, at what point can we start looking at how we spend that?
I would like to start as soon as you give us the permission to. Because I know there are many things that we could pre-purchase in case we're cut next year.
So we look at that monthly and we do a check-in just like the board does. So we're continuing to have that discussion, or we're continuing to have a discussion with administration to see what the needs are as the year goes on. So, because we want to be able to expend all of the funds that we have.
And
So
when do we have to
that's the
do that
goal.
by? I never remember the dates. When
I'm
do we have to,
sorry? June
when do we have
30th.
to, what is it, June?
We have to spend it by the 30th.
Mhm.
We have to have all of the purchase orders in by June 30th,
Okay.
or we can't spend any of the funds that are left.
So we'll be working on that.
Also included the food service performance report by school, as I was asked.
I had a question
Go ahead,
before.
Laura.
We probably do this every single month, but on page 5 of 6, 565001, non-instructional tech supply. 272%.
What was that again? I'm sorry. Non,
565001, non-instructional tech supply.
Yeah.
What does that include?
the non-instructional technology supplies. Those are the wires and all the things that Ally needs to make the schools.
So was this recent change that you did over the holidays, is that's reflects the 273% increase?
$600, so it's not a huge number.
It's more.
Right, I think
No.
most of the stuff that Ally did, wasn't some of that out of E-rate?
That's year to date is
So that's-
599.
That's hundreds of thousands. That's.
Oh, so you're right, sorry.
Budget year.
750 to 4,000. You're right. No, wait,
Oh, four
it's minus
thousand.
13.
She's looking at this, to see all of these amounts that are in the schools are being moved here, because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, what is this?
Okay, if you're
we
looking at
class
that one
something?
line, the 01,
Yeah,
all the other the schools have amounts, which doesn't make any sense at all, because Ally's the one that makes those purchases. So if you look at the total of the accounts that go all together for 5650, it's only 40, it's 47% expended. There's 53% left.
Oh, see the bottom.
mhm,
You look at the bottom line on
Yep.
that.
yeah, I see that.
It's just things were charged to the central office line when it could have gone to any of the schools, but since they were purchased by Ally's department, we just throw it there.
Gotcha. Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. A couple, but I'll try to keep it short. Page 5 of 6, right below that, 589015, the mentor stipend, is that a program? Like, do we have an official mentoring program, or is that a specific mentor that is allocated to?
Kim, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's for the team program, which is the teacher, educator, and mentor program with the state of Connecticut, and we get reimbursed for that. And we actually should have just gotten our disbursement. We don't get 100% reimbursement any longer, but we do get a significant amount of that money back to offset some of that cost.
Okay.
But we get the reimbursement. Actually, we might not have gotten it yet. I think it comes after February, like 15th, Lynn, am I right?
Yeah, it hasn't come yet.
Yeah,
And
so I think it comes around February 15th, because they have to look at the actual number of beginning teachers that we have in the team database, which I maintain. And then once they determine how many people we actually have that are on record, there's a dollar amount that the state allocates based on the total number of beginning teachers in the entire state of Connecticut and the funding that they have allocated. So
Are they,
February 15th. Sorry.
so where does the mentor part of it come in? Is it that the new teachers are the mentees?
Nope, all of our beginning teachers that are first year, second year teachers that are newly certified teachers. So if they were a veteran teacher from outside the district, they don't qualify for it. But if they're brand newly certified teachers, they get assigned a trained mentor with our district. And so we assign them a lead teacher, somebody that's gone through the training. It's a 3-day training.
Okay. Nice. Any other questions? No, I guess so. I'm good for now.
Landscaping, isn't that a contracted amount? Did the amount that came in, if we're looking on page 3 of 6, it's $17,000 over what was budgeted?
I did highlight that, Jason. Thank you.
We had to get the fields ready for baseball at the middle school in anticipation of the high school fields being closed down for the construction. So that additional funds hit that line, and that's basically what it is. We got those fields ready to be used for by the high school.
Little League doesn't pay for any of that?
No, it's our responsibility.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Did you want me to explain the food service report?
Yes, please.
Okay, I was asked to give you the food service report by school. And there's also a line for central office because we did have some catering that was done. You can see the breakdown of the total meals by school and the total income by school and the total expenses by school. This month, it was definitely in the red because we had to go back to the beginning of the school year and give the retroactive pay increases of $21,036.92, which caused the negative swing in the profits. We're still 146,000 to the good this year, so I see that the entire program is doing a good job.
Anyone have any questions on this?
We pay the food servers out of this fund?
Yes. The only people that we don't pay are the Ed Advance employees, which are the managers.
Okay.
We pay everyone else. We pay the servers, we pay the lunchroom monitors out of this fund,
Okay.
cashiers, cooks.
It's more than I thought, breakfast and lunches.
Yeah,
They've been increasing their participation rates, so hopefully we'll keep going up.
yeah, it looks like a lot of them are taking advantage of it, which is great.
It's a good thing.
Mhm.
We should take advantage
I have
of it.
Fiona. Just in regards to the breakfast, and it's a question, and it kind of goes along with this increase in participation. The middle school enacted a new Google form where at the end of each week, the students sign up for breakfast for the whole week. And I'm just wondering if we're seeing an increase in the number of breakfasts this month as compared to last month with this new system in place. So the students used to just grab a lunch as they got off the bus and they would decide whether or not they wanted it on the spot. Now they're having to sign up for it for the whole week, the week before. So I'm just wondering if we're seeing an increase from that change in process.
That started this month.
Yeah, it's been, yes. I think it was in this last month. Again, time's all going together.
I won't be able to comment on that until next month when I get the figures again.
Okay, just to talk about the numbers, just as people are talking about the amount that we're serving, that could be one reason we're seeing an increase at the middle school.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, budget timeline 22-23.
Yeah.
We are working on the budget still. We have everything entered except for the salaries, which we are diligently working on getting updated with all the new contracts that came into play. I believe that we'll have everything ready to present to you sometime near the end of the month. And we'll start our budget meetings.
Do we have a schedule for those?
Yeah, we had the schedule in the December packet. We can send it out to you again, the
Okay.
calendar.
If
of
I
events.
can pull it off and print it, that's okay.
You know what? I bet it's in Ally's,
It's on the website.
yeah.
I'll
In
print
her,
it,
little-
yeah.
in her minutes.
All right.
Um,
And it's in the last.
So the next step is to actually, I present the superintendent's budget at the full board in February, and then,
We'll kick into the,
correct, so next
Okay.
month, we really need to solidify dates that the board wants to meet to have those public forums and things like that. We had suggested times down there, but just have the board decide if that works for everybody. We did it based on last year's calendar.
so we look at that, the full board? maybe?
So the full board receives the budget and then passes it. to
No,
budget
the
committee.
schedule.
Yeah, we got it last month.
Are you waiting for us to sign off on that?
We
The schedule?
usually
Or
work
no?
out certain days, just kind of tweak it and
Oh, okay.
that whatever works
So we
for the
don't-
board, and then it ends up going to the full board, and then it gets tweaked again because somebody wasn't at the budget meeting, and then we say, okay, does that work? Does that not work? And then we have a finalized version. But that usually happens in February. We can certainly bring it to the full board in January, but it seems premature since the budget committee hasn't had a chance to talk about it.
Thank you.
And where it's gonna be because of COVID, where we can
Right,
have a meeting.
we're hoping that we can get back to the high school in February, fingers crossed. It depends on if we're peaking and declining or if we're
Right, right.
still,
We're declining right now,
Plateauing.
16% today.
and that is what
Right.
our local health agency, I had a discussion with folks there today, and that's what it looks like. So we're,
Is there anybody left who
We're really
hasn't gotten the Omicron?
I don't think so.
You may have.
I've not had it. I haven't either, so,
You may not even know, yeah.
Right.
right, exactly.
Nobody else heard it, guys.
Yeah, moving along.
So, yes, exactly. Let me just do the update on the Alliance 10%.
So everybody all set on the budget timeline?
Mhm.
Alliance 10%, 22, 23.
So, last month I shared that we had to do, we had to take 10% of the increase that we had in Alliance for minority teacher recruitment. The state has moved that to next year, so we don't have to worry about that. And when I talked with, thank you, Ally, our Alliance rep, we have a new rep, his name is Greg Driscoll. He said that actually the state is going to set up a separate grant fund, and then you can keep track of the monies that you use and do a drawdown from there based on the programs. And they'll have 3 programs that boards can choose from. I don't know, it might be more than that, but they'll actually narrow it down and they'll give suggestions on programs that have already been vetted by the state. And then boards of ed can make those decisions. So I think they're trying to make the process clearer because it was kind of, it seemed very rushed. So that's just the update. So we don't have to worry about that piece until next year in terms of that particular allocation.
But we could still look at education pathways as we go through the new curriculum, right?
Sure, so education pathways are still to work toward getting our students who are really interested in going into education, and seeing as there's an education shortage, not only in the state, but across the nation.
Yeah.
It would be great to get
Right.
students interested in going into the profession.
Yeah.
And any opportunities we have for that. And then the other piece is it is a state initiative to focus in on minority teacher recruitment. So building up the profession, getting people interested in it overall, and then having the state focus as well. So,
It's win-win for everybody.
right.
Good.
Any other questions? Okay, new grant funded positions.
So Lynn and I are gonna kind of tag team this. Some of the board members had asked about, so what were the new positions? So what you see in the packet on the very last page are the new positions that we've had through the grant funds, and there's a large variety of grant funds, the 2% ECS, which we'll only have for this year, the Alliance, which we obviously continue to have, the city ARP, ARP, that's just for this year, 2% once again, just for this year. ESSER 2 lasts for the 2 years. So as we are projecting out beyond, we can start to plan for 22, 23, but beyond that, it gets difficult, right? Because a variety of different things happen. We have people who decide to retire. We have grant funding going away in 24, 25. So we're trying to plan as much as we can. Some things we are suggesting would go into general budget. That's the GB. In particular, the board has expressed an interest in having the ELL positions, but this is still, I'm still in this last month before I present, working those pieces out. And then it will continue to be fleshed out as we go through really the next few years. Many throughout the state, I think there's a push, there's a hope that we may be able to extend the funding source into that 24, 25 and not have it end at the beginning of 24 because it's been so difficult to expend some of the funds. We certainly don't want to give anything back, and we certainly will use every penny of it, but it's just been challenging given the shortage of bus drivers and just teachers really feeling burned out and maybe not wanting to do after-school programs at this point.
Yeah.
And I think in future years, hopefully if COVID, if we're at the end of COVID and we get to kind of move on and start with a clean slate, I think that a lot of those things that we normally run, we would be able to institute again. So we would like to have that opportunity. So I know that a variety of different organizations, including superintendents, state organization, are asking the state, is it possible for the state funding at least to be extended? And certainly then the state is, I'm sure, asking the federal, the feds as well. So this is just the first time you'll see this. You'll see it many, many more times as we go on. And then it will get firmed up at least for this next year coming up and even possibly the year after. So you're talking 22, 23, and then 23, 24. So you can kind of see that longevity as we get into budget season.
Sue and then Gary.
Are these positions all filled?
We do have most of, we were looking at some of the dilemmas there, and that's another issue, right? Because we do have a teacher staffing shortage, right? So there are some that are not filled. When we were meeting with Kim yesterday, and Kim, feel free to jump in. There were some ESL paras that were still open but not filled, and some people in those positions, then they left the position. So it's kind of gone back and forth, which has been difficult. Anything else, Kim, that I'm missing that is still
on this list? No, that you have here. I think all these other positions, as far as I can see and from what I recall from our conversation, I believe other than the 3 ESL para positions that are open, all the other positions on this list are filled.
Great.
So that's, we're actually doing better than a lot of districts. And so we
Very much
really
so.
appreciate Kim and her department, as well as the admins and the staffs, for doing all of that interviewing as well.
So
Gary.
at least all the positions in the entire system that are covered by grants, there's nothing else. The reason I ask is, I mean, can we project out to the city how we need to start pulling some of these in to our regular budget?
I'll be
one
talking
for
about that when I do my, my budget presentation, but this is not all of the complete list of all of the positions. What was requested was, what did we have for new positions?
Oh, okay.
And then, right, because we still have other positions in Alliance. We have, right, other positions in our SPED grant, which is called IDEA. We have a bilingual grant, we have Title IV, we have Title III. There's other pieces, and you'll see that when I do the budget presentation. There'll be a whole breakdown.
What do you think that off the top of your head, what is the total? Do you know off the top of your head? 7, 8 million, or is it? I'm just curious how
Yeah,
much the
it's
city's
not-
have to
it-
consume.
It's much more. So we will show the revenue page, and we'll see the breakdown for all the different grants. So it really does help. And then there's just a page that summarizes every single one and gives you the numeric amount as well.
Any other questions? Anyone, any of the Brady Bunch? All set? Yonder update. Somehow Jerry was able to get a call with the owner of Yonder, the creator, and 3 of their employees today that I was able to go on to get some more information on the Yonder pouches. So right now, just for information, so because we had some questions about how it works, and we were able to spend an hour talking to them to really drill down how it works, what staff would be required to do it. So we learned some good information about it. So the first thing is that there's not a staff member that actually locks and unlocks the pouches. So they have it's basically a self-serve kiosk that comes, and as the kids are entering or exiting the building, their phone gets turned off, put in the pouch. As they walk by the kiosk, they hold it up and it locks it. And then it's locked for the whole day, depending on what everyone decides. And then when they leave the building, on the way out, they hold it up and the machine unlocks it. One of the things they said is that what most schools do is whoever's generally at entrance and dismissal watches just to make sure that every kid is going
Leaves
to the
it.
kiosk and not just going into the school. Most people put it in their vestibules and on the East Coast. Out the West Coast, they do it outside, but East Coast, they put it inside because of the weather. So I asked, what would happen if somebody won't unlock, right? Because we don't want to back up dismissal. And they basically said the only way someone won't unlock is if the student has tried to tamper to get the device open during the day. And at that point, an administrator could cut the pouch open.
With scissors, simple.
But they would be able to see,
That they tried to
actually
tamper.
showed us one where a kid tried to put keys through the magnet to open it, so it ripped the inside of the pouch. But they said they don't have like technical issues where it just won't open. It would definitely be some kind of tampering by the student. They have different, it's up to like the Board of Ed and the administration and everybody how you do it. Some districts. So every child is issued a pouch. You can put their student ID number, their name on it. They have the same pouch for the whole year. If the student damages the pouch, loses the pouch, they're usually charged to replace the pouch. The district would determine what that charge is. You have extra supplies of them, so you wouldn't actually be ordering a pouch. You would replace the pouch. Some people do escalating fees. So like $25 the first time, 50, 75, or you could do 25, 50, then you lose your right to have a pouch and you just can't bring your phone. So there's a lot of different options, but a lot of that type of stuff is determined at a local level. So how they work is they would come out or works either through Zoom or in person. Sorry, with the administration to like set parameters, see what the priorities are for the district and kind of work through that. What a lot of them do is they have like a principals meeting where Yonder comes out and their staff talks to parents about the Yonder and what it is and why you're doing it. Sorry, they also give you sample letters of communication that you can send home and videos and different items you can put on the website. The first week that you implement it, they send their staff out here
They said 2 weeks, didn't they?
a week.
Was it a week?
And then, thank you. I'm actually not sick. I have no idea why I'm coughing.
Sounds like a tickle.
Take a
Yeah,
break.
dry,
Yeah, so they send their staff out the first week to assist the school with, enforcement and working out any kinks and, helping the kids to understand. They said sometimes that gets better served coming from an outside company. But then they would be there for support, at any other time that you need them. Did reach out to a lot of schools that are using them, because they gave us quite a substantial list. Like, I wasn't aware that every school in New York City uses them. So we also talked about whether any schools give the kids, unlock them at all during the day. And the answer was that no, most people, it's, they want kids communicating at lunch, they lock them in the morning and unlock them on the way out.
Have they noticed a difference in
Yeah.
behaviors and,
Behaviors and grades.
yeah,
So that's.
just from watching the videos and reading about it was incredible, the feedback. I'm sure some of it was maybe staged as just good feedback, but it really seemed like it would pay off.
I called the principal in San Mateo. They've got 2,000 kids. And it's been almost 4 years now. I've spoken to them twice.
Mhm.
And he said the improvement in behavior, in attitude, in grades, and just in peace and quiet. The teachers benefit as much as the students, they
Yeah.
said.
I bet.
Took them out there, I think he said up to a month. But you're gonna have kids who try to get around it, you have kids who try to break it,
Mhm.
but the cost involved to the child and the family is probably more than they're willing to, live with
Mhm.
more than once
So
or
they might
twice.
try it once, yeah.
But it is the exception.
Mhm.
Yeah, and a lot of it's gonna be driven by policy, right? So you'd have to address in your policy what you would do for those kids that, damage it.
Would teachers pouch also?
We didn't talk about that. We're just looking at it for the students.
I'll close to the principal.
I mean, if we were ever considering something like that, obviously, we need to meet with the unions and, we still have a little bit of a process
Oh,
to
yeah.
go,
Yeah,
so Ellen was gonna meet. We wanted to basically get the information out, what we were able to find out. Because it was helpful information, a lot of it. And then just from a pricing standpoint, so if we were to implement it this year, we would actually get this year for free. So we would get it, as soon as March, you could do it. And from March of this year till June of 2023, the cost for the Yonder, the pouches, everything would be $15,200. But there is a $975 shipping cost for all the kiosks and all that stuff that has to come. So that it would bring the total to $16,175. And that would be good through June of 2023.
So we would pay, so for example, for the 23-24 school year, are we paying, excuse me, like a service fee? Or are we buying
this
more
price-
pouches?
No, so this price includes all of the pouches.
Okay. So we wouldn't have to pay anything after that?
There is a fee every year. We could find out
I mean, if it's,
what that was after that period of
Okay.
time.
And replacement of pouches too.
You do have to replace, I'm sure.
$12.50
Some,
a piece.
yeah.
Jason said his hand.
Ellen and then Jason, sorry.
So we were talking about a kiosk, and I'm just thinking the high school, everybody coming in one door, do they come in one door now?
Yes, they come in that front entrance.
Only,
Well, they
But now
also,
they go up.
yeah, they go up the stairs as
so.
well. So you have
does-
supervision in both
Yeah,
areas.
does that include like so many kiosks or?
Yeah, we'd have to figure that out.
They come out and do a site visit.
Yeah.
And they determine where.
Okay, so right now this 15 too is like 6 or 5, right?
No, it's like 2.
It's 2 kiosks?
It's literally 1 second.
It's not, all it is a plate. And the plate goes on the.
It's like putting your badge up to something.
No, no,
and it
I
opens
understand
the
And
that,
we're,
door.
but
so you're just
how-
looking at which
How
schools.
many kiosks?
Right, and where the entry points are. Yeah.
Correct.
They determine.
So it would be one at the middle and one at the high,
No,
school
so
then.
we only talk to them about the high school.
just the high school. So
Yeah.
there's 1 kiosk.
There
Two
would be
for the high school.
kiosks, So
Okay.
that you could get.
So you could put them in the 2 different locations. Entry
Gotcha.
points.
Or
But
even
we-
2 at one location and they come in
The
2
cost of the
times or
kiosk.
whatever. I don't know.
I bet is probably $50. They're no plastic.
Okay.
Just what you see at a retail store when they go to take that thing off. That's the cost is the pouch. $12.50 each.
So we did also talk about,
I think Jason had a
quickly, and then
question.
I'll go to Jason. We did also quickly talk about the Apple Watches and the AirPods, which I wasn't aware what they could actually do on AirPods till today, but so they have an extra large pouch that would allow all of those contents to go in there, so that was interesting, but Jason,
It's getting out there to staff that this discussion is taking place, and this, I'm really trying to decide how much I want to say right now, because this is a much bigger issue than just phones. There is policy in place, whether or not the policy is being followed, whether it's being followed across the board, whether staff are feeling supported in enforcing that policy. Making a more stringent policy, I don't know if that's going to solve a problem. Is that going to create a bigger problem? But I don't know if it's prudent to the board to get some input from staff on how they feel this is all going to play out, because if you've been to bus dismissal at the middle school, trying to get those kids to get their phones, it's quite a task. And I don't know if you're just talking the high school, if you're talking the middle school, if we're making this policy, I mean, every student I could assume, or every grade, K through 12, there's a student with phones. So how can you only make this being a high school or just a high school, middle school, and not just an across the board student policy? So these are just, and again, I wasn't at policy to hear what the discussion was. I know it was just brought forward last month, but there's already a lot of buzz in the building, at least at the middle school, about what's coming down from the board in regards to phones. And I don't know if we have enough input from staff and not just admin about where the problem lies or what could be done as a part of to help solve it.
so just to clarify one point, so the school is never taking possession of these phones in this scenario. So there'll be nobody giving kids back phones at the end of the day. The student will always have it in their possession if we go with the yonder, but in a locked pouch that they can't access their phone. When they walk out, they're literally holding it up like a badge to unlock it. But we haven't made a decision yet. And Ellen is actually was arranging to go to talk to the high school. But we don't want to roll anything out K through 12 until we're sure that it works and we like it, right?
Can I just ask, in talking with the company, does the device or the kiosk that unlocks it, does that get put away during the day, or is that permanent within that spot all day? Because I could ultimately see kids walking by after they've locked their pouch in the middle of the day to unlock their pouch, and then they've got a phone for the remainder of the day. Or does that kiosk turn on and off at certain times?
As soon as the kids enter and school starts, the piece on the bottom comes off and goes to the office. So anyone that comes in after entry has to go to the office. And then right before dismissal, the mechanism goes back on the kiosk, and that's what unlocks it. So
And
they
then,
won't-
and then,
Yes, but it
Yep.
would not unlock it.
and then who is watching the students that are putting the phones in the pouch? I mean, that's the other thing is you have buses getting on, unloading, and you have, 30, 40 kids walking in a door all at once. That's slowing down a process as well. So these are just things, boots on the ground that we're seeing that to think about as you're going forward.
Here,
They've got it in over almost 3,000 schools. They will provide the protocol examples, whether they're New York or California or Houston. But Jason, at the policy meeting, just so you know, nobody disagrees with your comments about the problems we're having. I mean, they were completely discussed. And after the last meeting, we had talked about getting the Yonda for next year, but it so happens that this time of the year is the best time for them to come to the school because they're typically not installing at most schools. New York, 200 plus schools or something
2,000
in New York,
in
or
the boroughs, yeah.
they have to be there, so they have a lot of resources there. They can dedicate the entire company to us the sooner we go. And we did talk a policy about going from, I think, all elementary through middle school to high school with a revised policy, but we all thought that this takes care of 99.9% of the problems because the kids still have the phones, but they can't use them versus not having phones on campus. And
Then no one has to enforce it.
nobody has to enforce it. There are things that go along with like first time, second time, third time, but the schools that use it, it takes the pain away from teachers, in my opinion, and the administrators by and large. You're still gonna have some kids that use it. But I mean, I think 7th and 8th would be next year, not this year, but let it roll out. Anyway. We agree.
And you said scissors can open up the pouch and every classroom has scissors.
Oh, no, but here's the thing. It's learned behavior. It's no different if every teacher would take the phone away when there was a problem and then we gave it to the administration and we kept it, which we've also talked about as part of our policy. So with this, it's much more difficult and they have to pay for the pouch if it gets ruined. So, and it becomes a policy that we decide in terms of how much they have to pay. And at some point you keep the phone if they're, continually, breaking the rules, but.
So all that has to be worked out. I mean,
Correct.
part of the problem with our current policy is our current policy was written before everyone had a device. We were in a very different environment. So it is a little bit gray because it's up to the discretion of teachers if they're using them, they're not using them. So it's looking more to do it a unilateral thing. So, over the coming weeks, we'll get some input and know that Sue had been talking to the administration about it and Ellen was gonna work on that also. I don't know if you want to say anything, Ellen?
I haven't need to touch base with
Right,
Sue.
we need to,
Right.
yeah, because at the meeting, we had talked about high school, middle school, and then when I met with admin, I met with the whole entire secondary, and then Robin and Brian were really good about talking with their admins, really thinking about a plan, doing outreach to staff, and their leadership teams. So that was the information that we last left with that meeting. So I would just say if we could just be thoughtful about it, not saying, I don't want to do the yonder boxes or I don't think it's a good idea. I'm just saying there's so much going on and there have been so many changes. Like Jason was saying, and then Mark Mangelinks at our policy meeting as well. This is a massive cultural shift. And so I just think to be able to get information out, to be thoughtful about this process. I know that folks want to be able to provide input in terms of the logistics, just what you're talking about, the entering, the leaving, how does this really work, to ask their questions and really to have time to think this through, as well as parent information.
But we haven't gotten there yet to I would like to meet with the administrators. Because they need to know that the board is behind them. And then also meet from there, meet with everyone that's involved. That was my sense. So whenever.
Gary.
So we can talk after.
Gary, Nikki, Jason.
So my take on this whole process should be, to the question about whether or not teachers and others will go along, they'll buy into the process, but we're beyond the point of no return. So as far as I'm concerned, it's about the kids. It's not so much about everybody else in the building when it comes to how we get these phones out of their pockets and out of their hands and stop them from killing themselves. That we push as hard as we can to get these things done within a week or two. We talked about it at our next February meeting. We would at budget make a decision. And that's why I reached out to Yandra today. The process couldn't be any easier. I've talked with the people I've talked to with much larger school systems. It's just coming to grips with the teachers and the administrations and the parents saying, this is how we're going to fix the problem. Because it's been going on for years and the can gets kicked down the road. And we don't know if next year we might have double COVID. Either we address the problem now and fix it. And this is, to Jason's point, this is the easiest fix. Because if we go to the policy we talked about, which is level 1, level 2, level 3, and teachers have to watch what the kids are doing and take them out of their pockets and out of their bags till the end of the year, it just exacerbates what the teachers deal with now, because right now they don't bother with it. Because there's no outcome, there's no discipline. So
Consequence.
this takes all that away. It makes everything easier because now the consequences that they tried to get into their bag. And again, they're gonna have 10 or 15 kids out of the 900 that cause a problem, but if they do, it goes to administration. It's 10 a week instead of 200 a week. And you charge the $25 and he doesn't have his pouch, he can't bring his phone to school. I mean, it's a very simple solution to a very difficult problem. And, it has to be done. We keep talking about it. It has to be done. And it's not like it was 3 years ago. Kids are dying from this right now. That's why the fellow started this project. Kids are dying. They're not learning. They're wasting time on their phones during school. Teachers can't teach because they're interrupted 24/7. And we pretend it doesn't exist. But as Jason said, it's happening all the time. And we've reached the point of no return with phones. Either we fix it or we just let it go. And we become Waterbury, which I don't want to be. But anyway.
Nikki.
I just had a question in relation to what Gary was saying, and then I had my original question, but should we bring to the full board the decision on whether we as a board want to allow cell phones or not, and then make all the other decisions kind of focus more on the how?
We did that last time, I thought. Well, we talked about that policy. We said, let's go to Yonder and see what their proposal is. And then come February, we talk about what our policy is going to be on cell phones based on our meeting last week. We said we want to decide by the meeting in February what we're going to do. So we have 2 weeks.
Okay, I thought I heard from Ellen that there was more meetings and stuff, I will say, that we wanted to kind of input that we wanted to get in the short term. So I wasn't sure, but if it's still going to the February full board with the final policy, I'm fine with that.
Well, it doesn't have to, that's what we said, but and that's why we talked about pushing it. Because originally it was January. There wasn't enough time for January, we said. But we did.
I know.
Did you have another question, Nikki, or was that your only?
Nope, I did. I just was curious on, in the conversation with Yonder, the focus on the high school versus the middle school, because it sounds like, the problem may be bigger at the middle school where we kind of have a no cell phone policy versus what we heard from Robin was the high school, while not uniform and still distraction doesn't seem to be as big.
So what they actually said is tons of districts do it K through 12. It's just the whole school system does it, and even the elementary kids use the pouches. So that would really be something that we could discuss and decide. Obviously, there's more expense the more you do.
But that's why you wanted to start with with high school first, right away. We'd have 5 months of experience. And we have 4 months to decide if we want to roll it out everywhere or just the middle school.
Maybe other districts don't have as a significant problem as we do with our middle school and the phones? Is that why he suggested the high school, just starting at that level, or is
No,
that
I
something?
suggested that.
Well,
You did?
but they agreed with you though.
They said, yeah, that is,
And to be honest, the kids are older. They would understand it more, in my opinion. And the teachers and the administration can learn the ins and outs and pass the information along rather than dealing with 10 to 12-year-olds.
Right, I think
To
it's better to start with the high school.
Yeah.
Well, I think it
I
was
think
also
there's,
more to us that the issues are at middle high versus,
But we're not
The
now addressing the
elementary.
middle school policy. Remember the middle school policy, we talked about having a policy.
I
right?
understand.
let Nikki
But-
finish, let's
Yeah.
just go in order. Nikki, are you all set?
I was just gonna say, the change management at the high school where they're actually allowed it during different times of the day is probably a greater cultural change versus the middle school where, it's really just enforcing the policy that we have and giving them the tools. So I just think maybe we could discuss that further.
So, and I just want to clarify for the record, because, we keep hearing this. So these problems are multifaceted, so I don't want anyone to think this is like a one-person issue, right? Because time and time and time and time again, when I hear it's not being enforced, then I talk to the person that's involved and find out that they never reported this. So I think we all have to be honest about what battles we're fighting, what battles we're not fighting. But to simply say that the administration in specific buildings isn't putting down disciplinary consequences for things that people have heard is not entirely an accurate statement. So it's going to be up to all of the adults in all the buildings, whatever decision ends up getting made, is if we want to make it better here, we all have to work together. And I'm not saying kumbaya, but I'm really tired of, people complaining and then finding out that no one reported it. So it's like, let's all take responsibility for our role in how this may be growing into a larger problem. Jason.
I didn't mean to sound like a Debbie Downer before, because I do agree something needs to be done. I also want to say that, Gary, there are teachers and there are staff and there are administrators who are doing what they're supposed to do. It is not across the board that it's not happening. The whole something needs to happen. We in the past, we've talked about the difference between policy and procedure. The policy is very clear. The procedure around how that policy is put forward is not clear or consistent across. So I know that we always talk about it's not necessarily up to the board to decide policy or to decide procedure. It's up to the board to decide policy. And I think that it's the procedure that needs to be very clear and communicated very clearly to everybody so that everybody knows exactly what's supposed to happen. So as we're moving forward, to keep that in mind, I take away phones, earbuds, earphones on a daily basis. And I follow the procedure on whether it was a first time, a second time, or a third time. And I know that there are a lot of teachers that do that. I know that there's administrators that follow it, that will follow through with us. It may not be an immediate because they're dealing with something else, but at some point it is taken care of. There are times when it's not taken care of. And it's like that for any policy that we have on the books. It's never going to be a 100% for everything, and we all know that. And thank you for trying to solve the issue that we're all dealing with, because it is an important issue that needs to be dealt with. And having all stakeholders giving input, I think, is important to having full buy-in by everybody.
And just, Jason, so the only reason we're even considering the yonder box is because we have to get to a point where the staff and the administrators aren't constantly having to enter into combat with kids over their phones. So that's the only reason.
Because all we want to do is teach. We
Right.
just want to teach.
Gary.
So, I mean, that's what we talked about, a policy. I mean, maybe school improvement too. I mean, if we don't go this route, the route we're going to go is we're going to have a three-tier level. If the kids get caught with the first time, second time, third time, we take it away. It's a massive amount of effort by the teachers and administrators. And if that doesn't work, the next step is nobody has phones anywhere, which I don't think is the best choice. We will get there because it's getting that way everywhere. this will take it out of the teacher's hands. The box is an asset for these kids. They own it. It's money. It's gonna cost them if they lose it or they break it. So it's gonna be on their person in the classroom, Jason, and everybody else. It's gonna be off 99% of them. If it's on, it's gonna kill their battery anyway. So he said the kids learn that you don't leave it on all day because you can't access it, and the battery is dead at the end of the day. But it's something that they won't 99% of the time damage or try to get around. And the teacher, as long as they're coming in and they're locking it in, and some kids will try to get around at the door, but a few. The teachers have nothing to think about or worry about, other than if the kid tries to break it open in the class. And if he damages it, it really comes down to going to the office and putting his name on the list and telling the parents they owe $25, or he doesn't get his pouch and he can't have his phone. It takes most of the day-to-day aggravation by the teachers and the administration out of the building. I mean, it's as if the kid owns that like he owns his phone. And he's got to maintain that thing and treasure it as much as he does his phone because he owns it. I mean, again, my choice would be that no phones on campus at all, but nobody else likes that idea. But this solves 99% of the problems. The teachers can have the video this week, and he'll give us everything we need, and he'll be here next week if you can schedule a meeting, a Zoom meeting. They'll do a presentation, they'll give videos, they'll show the schools they've been to. You just have to set it up.
I'm just saying, right now, it's just to put it into context, right? So tomorrow we're going into 2-hour delay. We've had a crazy beginning to the school year. We've had a crazy last 2.5 years. So now we're going into midterms for the high school. So that's what they're consumed about. They're not worried about cell phones. They're not worried about all these other things. I know that they should still worry about those as part of the policy.
Yeah, but
And
the
I'm
kids are
ju-
still gonna have their
but I'm
phones.
just giving context, right? Okay, so folks, and we've said this in a number of different situations, subcommittees, and our regular meetings, that people are stressed. People are stressed this year. It's been a very tough year for staff, for parents, for students across the board. Yes, I understand the frustrations of cell phones. I am just saying that it may be beneficial to take this on slowly so we can get that information out instead of rush to get everything done in March, when this, even though this has been discussed at board for the last 2 years, and I understand, Gary, your frustration in terms of let's get it done, but people at the school sites have not been part of that conversation to the detail and the depth and the, trying to hash things out the way the board has. So coming in, I think that some folks will feel very blindsided. And so to take some time to really get them informed when they can be present to hear that, so we get it out, the information to staff, to parents, and even to our students, because ultimately we want them to be responsible for this device and not misuse it. Because once they leave us, they're still going to have to focus on a job or the task at hand or the conversation and not be looking at that every second.
I understand.
So
I understand what you're saying, but we have 6 weeks to get it. It's a video, and there's a lot of different players in it, but the kids we're not talking about. The kids shouldn't have them. The kids are downloading porn, they're cheating. They shouldn't have them. So to wait the rest of the year, another 5 months, because we want to get the word out when we have the opportunity today.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
We have 6 weeks to get the word out. I don't know of a teacher that doesn't want to fix the problem. And if this takes the entire problem out of the equation for them, by and large, let them view the videos. This is what we plan on doing. And this is our attempt to fix the problem at the high school. And then come fall, if it doesn't work, then we can regroup. But otherwise, we're changing the policy and making it more difficult based on our conversation.
I just want to call, I think, a point of order, and not like in a bad way, but just the topic that we added to the agenda was solely focused on the device. And I just think this is a great topic, but we're missing some key members of the board for it. And we should save it for the full board meeting.
Well, here's the problem. We decided the last meeting, which you were at, that we're going to have the full board meeting by February. So if we're going to do that, then somebody's got to get things started. And that's this discussion about how the yonder box fits in, Nikki. So
Right,
point of
right.
order-
Well, and that's why I asked, did we need to make a vote on that we wanted to move forward with this? Because it seems like we're kind of going backwards. I'm just not clear on that. And I think it should be a meeting that is either had at the full board or gets kicked back to policy. It just shouldn't be here because I know we're not, it's just not fair for the agenda.
I think this is a big thing. It should probably be its own thing, honestly. So maybe we can focus on Ellen doing what she was gonna do with policy and getting some more information, and maybe administration can have a call with these yonder people, and then we can set up a meeting in a couple of weeks to talk about the pouches. And kind of, well, that
It's
was,
just the same. I mean, talk about process and point of order. This is about the kids not killing themselves. And we're worried about, we've talked about for 3 years. You weren't here for one of them, but at some point, we got to say, you know, this is bullshit. Let's fix the problem. I don't care. Let's move on. So
Okay.
you want to throw me off,
Okay,
throw me
so-
off. But I'm tired of this.
No,
Yeah.
I'm
okay,
perfectly honest. We don't
Okay.
care about the kids. We care about process. We care about everything else first.
We care about the.
Everybody's
No, is that
stressed.
true?
The
Is that
world is
true?
stressed. Let's fix it.
Okay,
Ellen,
so I think you are misunderstanding
No, no,
what Sue is saying. She's not saying wait 6 weeks.
no, but we're putting it off again.
Wait a minute,
we're not putting it up because.
stop. Nothing's putting,
Right,
nothing's
let's kick
putting
the
off.
meeting then. I'll agree.
Stop. It's not that we're starting yonder tomorrow. We still I still have to meet with the administration. This will be part of the discussion,
I understand, but.
okay? So let us have that meeting.
We talked
Okay.
about the meeting.
Yeah,
Have a
I
meeting.
haven't had that meeting yet.
So go.
It was gonna be, it has to be scheduled, okay?
But is it going to be a priority? I'm hearing,
It's
what I'm hearing
absolutely a
is Sue
priority.
doesn't want to, no, I'm hearing that Sue doesn't want us to pursue this right now.
No, 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 no,
I'm just saying
not
that
this
we've
week.
got to gather the information and we've got to go, we have to talk with the people who are going to have to implement this.
Right. and
We can't just
agreed.
say, here it is, go, do, yeah, because no
At
one's
some
gonna
point,
know
we
what
have to
they're
do that
doing.
though. At some point, we have to make an executive decision and do that.
I'll have
And
them here, I'll
certainly
have them here
that's
next
the
week.
board's purview to do any of that and to set policy and to make those budgetary decisions. I'm just saying, we had said at the policy meeting that Ellen was gonna meet with admins. That hasn't even happened yet.
Mhm.
So
Is that in scope was my question before that. Is that on someone's radar to schedule that
Yes.
meeting?
Yes,
yes, I've already talked with the administration. I've reviewed the policy. Ellen and I are just gonna talk at the end of this meeting about dates, times, when she's available. We're meeting with admins tomorrow. It's on our agenda. Like I said, we already talked last week with them as well. So it hasn't fallen off the radar at all. We followed up right after. In fact, it was the day after that we met with administration to address it.
So we'll be ready for the
So we're
first meeting
taking
in
it
February.
seriously.
So let's commit to being ready for the first meeting in February. I'll get them here next week. But if it doesn't happen in February, we might as well wait till next year because maybe we'll vote in March, maybe, and maybe there'll be more problems. So if you want them here tomorrow, I'll get them tomorrow. If they want to speak to you and the entire community, administration and teachers, I'll put them on the schedule. Give me the date. If we're really serious, give us the date. If not, let's kick it down.
And you can open that to parents.
They'll come up for parents. They'll have everything done before the start date. Maybe it's March 15th. But again.
but we need to coordinate with the administrators first. Okay, but I haven't even met with them yet. So maybe the meeting will be tomorrow, and maybe we'll get back to you in the February meeting. Maybe I'll get back to the policy committee meeting the first week in February,
Maybe. But-
and maybe they can come up for the policy committee meeting. But I haven't met with the administration yet,
I'm not
okay?
debating
So
that.
we're not pushing it off 5 months.
But 1
we're
month is
not-
too much,
We're not pushing it off 1 month. We said February, okay?
but it didn't sound like that a few minutes ago.
No, it didn't.
As she said.
But all I think Sue was saying was that midterms are now. Okay, midterms are this week, next week,
Next week.
midterms are next week. If we can meet today or tomorrow, if we can meet during midterms. Because maybe
Is that
the
tonight?
administrators will be more available during that time. We're talking what, 6, 8 people? Right.
So,
8 people and me.
yeah, and that's, I just think to start the process, the way we left the policy meeting, I thought that was next step. So that's what I shared with the administration.
Right, right. And the administration, in my opinion, which I think is a good thing, needs to know we're behind them. And we're taking this very seriously. And it's not like we're not doing anything.
I come from a different world. That's all. It's my personality, but I'm from a
Right.
different world. We have 6 weeks. We can do it tomorrow or next week.
But we can't do
I
it
don't care
tomorrow,
about-
next
I
week,
don't care about my
unless
terms.
everybody buys in.
Everyone
Okay.
doesn't have to
true.
buy
Well, we
in.
want
Nobody has
every,
to buy in.
no,
No,
okay.
everyone's
Let's just go
not
one at a
going to buy
time.
in.
okay, everyone
wonderful.
is going to buy in. But the
They're not.
It's
administrators,
not.
they have
I
to.
know some who aren't already.
It's not, they're
But
not
they,
all
but they
going to buy
have
in,
to
Ellen.
if we're gonna
Let's
do
not-
the yonder.
Let's
They
just try
have
not
to.
to argue
So I
about
have
this,
to
okay?
meet with them.
I agree with you there.
Okay, so we're going to meet. Sue and I will talk after this meeting.
My God.
So let's focus on getting the information.
And we can even give them the 3 emails you sent us. We can give to the administrators. They can look at it. We'll discuss it in our meeting.
But if you decide to meet, I'm saying Yonder will give you everything that spells the whole program
Correct.
out for you for that
Correct.
meeting, is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, if you ask for it.
Yes, I
But anyway.
think, and the board will talk more about this as this goes on, but I think the majority of the board feels strongly that it's not going to continue like this. So
Right.
I think that's kind of where we're at, is what is the solution? So Ellen can talk to administration. We look at the yonder boxes when, I think, as a helpful tool to implementing it. I'm not sure it's going to be an option to do nothing. I don't think it's going to be.
I agree it wasn't.
So I think let's just all keep an open mind to this and try to work together because, everyone's fighting about it. We're not going to get anywhere. And at the end of the day, I think everybody wants the same outcome, which is to have the students be able to perform better in school. So let's keep the door open.
And I think they'd be very receptive to the yonder.
So if you can have that meeting, policy meeting is less than 2 weeks from
2
today.
weeks.
And I might even have information for you for the regular board meeting next week.
So,
And be able to maybe set up a meeting. I'll talk to you about the
Yeah.
yonder.
What I'm
Okay,
saying is,
so-
if we don't, this has to do with Yonder. If we don't implement that, the alternative is a mess, because it goes back to Jason's point. As a policy, we're gonna impose very difficult things on the administration and staff, which we're insisting they have to follow. All
Correct.
I'm trying to do is take that away and fix it as best we can. That's all it comes
That's
down to.
right.
So
And I'm sure they want the same thing.
she doesn't want to do much.
It's,
year.
no,
I'm just trying to fix it
she didn't say March. She did
No, I
not
meant
at all.
this year. Okay, that's great.
Maybe it'll happen and everything will be implemented in February. But we have
They
to
can-
talk first.
I understand that completely.
Okay.
I thought,
so let's spear this off to the right committees, because budget was really just the update and the cost. So we're just gonna leave it here that they're gonna meet. If we have to schedule a separate meeting to review this and figure out how you're gonna get input, and then we'll be moving something else at some point. Okay?
The input would be how to write the policy. The input isn't if we're going to use them or not. Because I
Well, no,
think
the board needs to decide.
the
whether
board
we're
needs to
using
decide
it.
if we're going to use them or not. But then the input would be from the parents, the teachers, the administrators, and the
Let's
board.
move this to a different meeting, Helen, just
Of how to do the
because I think
policy.
it's, we're gonna move this to a different,
Right.
another meeting.
Yep.
Because we're only supposed to be talking about the budget implication here, so.
Yep.
All right, topics for future meetings.
I had a suggestion. I was wondering if we could talk about setting a priority list. So if we do in fact end the year with some additional funds, if the board could kind of set what we think is our priority list, it might help us to figure out how to allocate that.
just, I have one question on that. If we have enough money, let's say there's $500,000 left, could we use that toward the shortfall on roof or no?
Only if the town
No,
allowed
Only
it.
if the town approved it.
because it's
Yeah,
capital.
I know.
All right, never mind.
Which you can do, you can go ask them to move operating to capital.
Because
Like
we're
I
off by
did last year.
$350,000 now.
Yeah, we did that last year. Any other items? We have monthly financials, we're gonna be knee deep in budget. Anything else anybody wants? Okay,
Oh,
budget
just one thing.
calendar,
Well, can we-
finalizing budget calendar will be next.
Just one thing. I thought we talked about meeting, I guess we're not gonna be able to do it. Meeting with the town, the council and board of finance ahead of time. A while back, we talked about that, but it's too late at this point.
Well, I think in,
Like a preliminary to discuss where we're headed.
yeah,
We did that last year. We did it the year before, but
we can talk about that February meeting. All right, anything else? Anything else? Comments for the good of the order. Kim,
Me?
Thank you.
Nope.
I
Good
thought you said
meeting.
Kim, I'm sorry.
I thought you said Kath. I'm not sure. I'll,
I probably said Kathy. Sorry, I thought Kathy first because I thought she was going in order. Sorry.
get anyone?
interesting conversations. I did watch the Yonder video that was sent to me and I enjoyed it. I think it's good information. But change is something we have to take in stride and but we also have to include all of the stakeholders. I think that's really important that we get opinions and views from everyone who's going to be having to implement something that we are looking at possibly purchasing. And then the other thing is I just want to thank Jason for having his cat in the meeting. He or she provided a lot of good entertainment. So thank you for that. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Jason?
Oh, okay, now I'm unmuted. Not necessarily budget related, but just wanted to say that having missed PLC in December, missing PLC in March, and now with a 2-hour delay tomorrow, to please consider possibly having staff come in at normal time with the student delay so that we don't miss the PLC time. It is something that is very near and dear that we need to, that we're working on some really good stuff with. And so to miss PLC again tomorrow with the 2-hour delay, possibly a cancellation depending on where this goes, but to look at possibly having staff come in at normal time and having the students still be delayed. Every other profession has to report to work for the most part on time. There's no reason why teachers can't.
whoa.
Nikki,
I like that.
thank you. Nikki,
No comment, thanks.
John,
Interesting meeting. My thoughts have gone all the way from Eric Cartman to Pericles at various points in the evening.
You'll have to explain that some.
Text us that, please, so I can look it
that's
Not quite
it.
as-
That's what you got. John, you all set?
Oh, yeah, that's on.
up. All
Phil,
set. Thank you.
Ellen,
All set?
Gary,
Let's keep pushing.
Marissa,
No, I'm all set.
Lynn,
Everyone have a great evening.
Sue,
All good, thank you.
John.
Good.
Ally,
All good, thanks.
entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.